am Carla Christopher. I am the one-stop diversity shop, which basically means I was born to a Jewish mother and a Black father during the 70s when neither community really was that interested in having me be a part of it. So I experienced a lot of bullying and a lot of lack of acceptance, both in Southern white communities and also in Northern Black ones. And I learned to keep to myself. I read a lot, and that reading, learning about different cultures, different parts of the world, was what helped keep me grounded when we moved all over, every place, about every 6 months, wherever mom could go as, by then, a single mom trying to find work. We were homeless sometimes, lived in a sunshine yellow hatchback, driving up and down the coast of Florida for a summer, heating up what we ever could find to eat, canned goods mostly, under the hot water tap. If you spin it around, the metal can will heat up the food under the hot water. So I was lucky enough to get into a really great private high school, and that gave me some stability so that I was able to start coming out of my shell a little bit. And I realized that it had been a gift. All those different places, feeling like I didn't have family, I didn't have friends, I didn't have connection, not really knowing where I belonged. I realized that it gave me a strength to be my own advocate, to be able to hang back and figure out what people were doing and why, to be able to be comfortable in any place, in any group, because I probably lived there at some point anyway. Whether it was rich people, poor people, Black, white, Jewish, Christian, straight, gay, and I ended up at some point being all of those. So, I don't know, once I accepted that I was never going to fit in any one place because I didn't need to, it meant that I could help other people who were feeling just as lost as I was. I really thought I was the only one, but I wasn't. And so I started to write. I actually started to write because I wanted to be a dancer. And then after a car accident, I was told I was never going to be a dancer or even walk again normally. So I spent a lot of years writing in bed, figuring out what I was going to do with my life. And I started sharing those stories once I got into high school and college. And I learned how to walk, and I like to say I learned how to fly at the same time, because people started coming back to me and saying that my writing changed their life, that they had felt alone, that they thought they were the only ones that had felt that way. And it didn't matter if they were Jewish or Christian or Muslim. It didn't matter if they were gay or bisexual or straight. It didn't matter if they were rich or poor. Everybody had felt alone or lost at some point in time. So after I was able to get through college, thanks to some great scholarship programs and working a lot of hours, I somehow ended up in Baltimore and then York, Pennsylvania, and I became York's Poet Laureate, which, when I was a little girl living in these tiny rural areas in the South or the Midwest, I never dreamed something like that would be possible. But just putting myself out there, just sharing my story, sharing being poor, sharing, coming out and realizing that I was a member of the LGBT population, sharing, trying to find a place in the different cultures that I was a part of, and then kind of realizing that I had to make my own place. Those emotions were really common. I was able to start my own publishing company, telling other people's stories and helping them preserve their narratives and really claim them. And now I not only run my own publishing company that's put out more than 50 books in the last 5 years of people with stories that they thought nobody else would understand. I've done a TV show where I've had more than 500 artists and creatives tell their stories to other people and help empower and inspire them. And I've gotten to travel all over the world and all over the country, places like Macedonia and Kosovo and Nigeria, Kenya, just to tell people about diversity, multiculturalism, and the importance of sharing your story. the importance of being vulnerable in front of other people. And I get emails, the emails all the time of people that say, I thought that I was alone and I feel better now because you just let me know that it's okay to be me. It's okay to be different. It's okay to not fit into one box and be like everybody else. And I feel like I can go on because of that. One of the poems that was one of my first published pieces was a poem about being a victim of domestic violence. And it was really hard to read. It was hard to perform. And I felt really naked and vulnerable. I was still dealing with a lot of self-blame and a lot of feeling like I should have known better. I should have left. I should have fought harder or fought back. I had some reason to be ashamed, and I shouldn't tell this story. I shouldn't share this story because people were going to judge me because it showed how weak I was. And then afterwards, a woman came up to me and told me she was a survivor too. And she was crying and she hugged me. And she said, "You have no idea how much I needed to hear the words that you said." The poem ends by, "In case no one has told you this today, you are beautiful and you deserve to be loved." And she said no one had ever said that to her before. And that as another survivor, she knew I wouldn't judge her. And that me saying that to her meant everything that she had ever needed in one moment at one time. And that I was able to give that to her meant that everything I had been through, how hard it had been for me to share that story, was worth it. And I said at one point, I'm not doing this poem anymore. I just can't take it. One time, I'm going to read this poem to a room and no woman is going to come up to me afterwards and hug me with tears in her eyes. And when that happens, I'm going to stop performing this poem. And that has not happened. And I wrote that poem more than 10 years ago. So for me, I wouldn't trade any of it. I wouldn't trade any of the confusion, feeling lost, feeling like an outsider. Because I felt like an outsider, now there's other people that feel they can belong. And because I couldn't dance, I could write and I could speak. And now other people can do whatever they want to do, whatever they're good at. Everything really does happen for a reason. And I hate to sound like a bumper sticker, but I don't know. I wouldn't give any of it back.